Guys, y'all know I love Spook's horror stories. I've been reacting to him for quite a while now. He has such an awesome narration style, and he's got some animations on his channel that I'm really dying to react to. These are from some ski trip horror stories that we're gonna react. Make sure to go subscribe to Spooked, guys. The link's gonna be in the description, and let's get into it.
This happened 19 years ago, and it sure as hell was the most frightening and tragic event that has and will certainly continue to mark me till the rest of my days.
All right.
I just want to preface this by also
feels.
telling you that if you're easily disturbed, the story isn't for you.
Well, I mean, we're easily disturbed,
on
but
with the story.
I kind of get off on it.
It was the evening of
Not
January
like
the
that.
13th, 2001,
Okay.
and I was at a ski colony with two of my good childhood friends, Josh and Mark.
All right.
In the colony, we were
Never
roughly
gone skiing
about 40 kids, ranging anywhere from 8 to 16 years old, and we stayed in a giant hotel for about 2 weeks.
Almost
Josh,
like a hostel.
Mark, and I were all 14 years old, and this was our
14?
first time ever on a ski colony together.
Oh, yeah. So it's almost like camp.
We were all more or less troublemakers and liked to get into dangerous situations.
That's
But
bad,
what I'm
man.
about to tell you was a consequence of us going too far.
All right.
It was
That's
the second
bad.
week of the trip, and skiing the same slopes got a little repetitive.
Okay. Yeah.
We were getting bored of skiing at the ski park as well.
Right.
So we decided to do some off-slope exploring. Meaning, instead of skiing on the slopes, we go off to the side and into the forest, while still keeping sight of the skiing tracks.
Right.
One day, we were with our assigned group, which consists of about 8 kids. We were skiing at the very top area of the mountain,
Okay.
and that's when we decided to go off track.
Right.
We had ventured our way down, and Mark said he would keep an eye on the track next to us. We all ski extremely fast, and for some reason, Mark wanted to compete on who could be the fastest without hitting any trees.
Oh my
I accepted,
God.
and all 3 of us went down even faster
Like
this time.
the Star Wars.
It was now getting
scene
even
with the
steeper,
speeders.
and I was a little ahead than the 2 of them.
Okay.
That's when we all rapidly approached some sort of cliff that I had fallen down from.
Oh my God.
I assumed none of us saw it, because
Right.
we all sort of made the jump.
Okay.
As soon as I hit the floor though, I stopped and looked behind me to see if everyone landed safely.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a small jump to make.
It was a big one, huh?
I saw Josh land right next to me, and he was fine.
Okay.
But Mark landed pretty harshly and sort of lost balance.
Uh-oh.
Josh and I go up to him to check if he's okay, and that's when we realized we lost the track.
Oh no.
Josh proposed the idea that we go
And
back
it's
up,
cold.
but it
man.
was impossible. It was
Right.
too steep, and anyone who skis knows it takes significant time and effort to walk up a steep mountain in the snow while carrying
Oh,
skis.
heck yeah.
And besides, the cliff behind us was too tall to climb. We
That's
decided to just
scary,
keep
man.
going down, and while we were doing so, turn to the right side. We go down slowly this time and keep turning to the right. But
Right.
unfortunately, there's just more of the same forested area.
Oh man, that's scary.
We figure
bro.
out it's hopeless and stop a second time to make out a plan. Mark loses all hope, and we all more or less tell him that it's okay.
Y'all didn't have phones?
But it was now slowly getting dark, and kind of came to the
It's gonna be
terrifying
so
conclusion
cold,
that we were
man.
lost.
Right.
At this point, we spent a good hour sitting down and talking, and it was seriously getting cold for all of us.
Yeah.
We all make up our minds to just keep sliding down, because it would at some point lead us to civilization.
In the dark.
And besides, we had no choice but to go down.
Right.
As we slide down, it's getting increasingly darker, to the point where we barely make out what's in front of us.
Right.
That's when Josh spots
A
out
house.
a light in the far distance to the left.
Thank goodness, maybe.
As we get closer to it, we realize it's a small, sketchy-looking wooden cabin.
I mean, what do you do though? Like,
We knock
you're
on
stranded.
the front door,
You have
and
to.
as soon as we do, we hear a woman screaming from inside. What the hell? We all look at each other in shock. After a couple of seconds, we hear a loud bang, and the screaming abruptly stops. Mark backs off
What the
and tells
hell,
us,
dude?
maybe this isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
To be honest, we were all freaked out.
What kind of
and kinda
choice do you
startled,
have, though?
backing away from the door.
Oh my
As soon as we
God.
did, though,
They
we
walked
heard a
up on a
male
murder?
voice cussing very loudly. Then, about 20 seconds after, someone opened the door. At this point, we were about 15 feet away
Okay.
from the door.
Dogs!
And sprinting towards us were two enraged Rottweiler
Oh
dogs.
my god.
We
dude.
immediately started running away. The dogs eventually caught up to
Yeah,
Mark
you can't
and
run
Josh,
away from a
while I
full-grown
somehow
dog.
made it behind a
No
bush,
way.
a little far off into the forest. I waited there for about 5 minutes, trying to catch my breath. All of a sudden, I noticed some light coming from about 100 feet in
The
the
man.
clearing. I peeked up and saw the man walking towards me,
What's he having?
seemingly
Just a
following my
walking stick?
footsteps. I decide there's no other way for me not to get killed besides quietly walking around the forest in a circle and slowly making my way back to the house. So I quietly shifted back to the side of the bush
Dude.
from where he couldn't see
Is
me.
that a stick?
I
or
somehow
a gun
make it
or...
inside the house and immediately try to find a phone. Luckily, I find a phone
There's a
on the
cell
kitchen
phone.
counter and call the cops.
Thank goodness.
I briefly tell them I'm in grave danger and that they should track the location of the phone I'm calling from. I then proceed to go upstairs to
What the
find somewhere to
hell, dude?
hide. I notice there's an attic ladder brought down, so I
Right.
climb up. As soon as I do, I get hit with a strong smell,
Oh,
like something
God.
rotting. For some reason, the light
he
is
had
on,
bodies?
and I look around for a good hiding spot.
Oh, there was a body.
That's when, in the far corner of the
That's
attic,
the girl.
I first notice a group of
I
flies
thought I just heard a
flying around.
fly.
Then I see it. It was a dead corpse.
Oh my
It appeared to be a woman with her face brutally beat up. Before I have any time to process, I suddenly hear the front door close shut. I
You
quickly
found
hide behind a shelf
a house
and
for
hear the guy
shelter,
yelling
and it's a
something along the
sicko
lines of,
murderer.
I know where you're hiding, you sneaky fuck. I then notice there's a window right behind me.
Right.
Fortunately, it was a window built in the slanted roof, meaning I could make it on the top of the roof.
Yeah.
I open it, push off the snow, and somehow shove myself through
Wow,
and make it
dude.
onto the roof, closing the window in the process. A couple of minutes later, I hear the shelf underneath me crash down and the guy cussing. I also hear a helicopter
Did he
coming from
fall?
a distance. As soon as I sigh in relief though, I suddenly see the window opening. That's when I remembered I must have put some snow on the attic floor by
Uh-oh.
climbing onto the roof.
He realized it.
I quickly keep it shut by standing on it. The lights of the helicopter shine on me, and I see it's now directly above me.
Thank
The
goodness.
rope being thrown down.
Yeah, baby,
I
climb
grab
up.
the rope, and right as I do, some object hits my feet, shattering the glass of the window. This guy broke the window. He tries grabbing for my feet,
What the
but I'm just
hell,
out of
dude?
reach as I climb up the rope and
What?
the helicopter goes back up.
Can you imagine?
I don't want to bore you too much with the details of the aftermath, but Josh was severely bruised, but managed to kill the dog he was fighting with.
Thank goodness.
But Mark unfortunately ended up being paraplegic from the dog chewing his legs while he was knocked unconscious from hitting his head on a tree.
Oh my god.
The guy trying to kill us allegedly killed his own wife and had a life sentence to prison.
Wow.
We never made it back to see anyone from that colony, though we damn well learned to follow the most simple rules from that day on.
Yeah, I guess so. My god. How is story 2 gonna even top this, bruh?
Last winter,
Whew.
me and my family traveled to Switzerland to go on a ski trip.
Okay.
It was me,
Dude,
my parents,
just
and my
wrecking
younger
me
brother,
today.
Jamie. We were staying at a resort in a small
good
Swiss
stories.
town and had gone onto the slopes to do some skiing.
Okay.
On my first day
Family
there,
trip.
I couldn't help but notice some guy who was always behind us.
Alright.
He had a heavily polarized ski mask
Mhm.
and a scarf covering his mouth,
Right.
so I couldn't make out his face in any way. The only thing I could distinguish him was his white North Face puffer jacket.
Alright.
I didn't think he was following us or anything,
Just thought he was
but it was
around.
definitely noticeable how he was a lot of the times behind us,
Weird.
going slower when we stopped and faster when we were on the move.
Ski stalker?
Because my dad was an avid skier, we
Right.
skied until late in the afternoon that
Yeah.
day. There were fewer people to the point that there wasn't any waiting line anymore for the ski cabins.
Right.
Anyway, we were skiing, and I think at that point my stupid brother somehow lost his glove,
Uh-oh.
and so my parents had stopped to help him find it. So I ended up being the first one at the bottom of the slopes back to the cabin. My dad said I was old enough to take the cabin by myself, So I decided to take the initiative and meet them halfway on the slope where they were looking for my brother's glove. I entered the cabin and it was only me. Right as the cabin door was closing though, someone quickly jammed his way in and took a seat in front of me. It was that guy again.
Right.
He said hello and I said it back. The cabin started moving upwards and we both stayed silent for a couple of minutes.
Right.
For some reason, this guy didn't take one piece of clothing off, not even his scarf or mask.
He wanted to stay
maybe get
hidden.
some air. That's when I heard the power stop and the cabin started swinging side to side. Great.
The power cut.
The ski cabins were doing their thing when a kid at the bottom struggles to get in the cabin on time and stop everyone. I was now alone with this creepy grown man in a 9 cubic feet cabin. It was dead silent in there, especially after the fact that the cabin was now still and there was no more sound from motors.
That's so awkward,
It was in the silence that I suddenly hear the sound of something taking a picture. It came from the guy. I turned to look at him and saw him quickly jolting away his phone back as if he was caught in the act of something suspicious.
He was taking pictures of you?
I thought
That's
maybe he was
weird.
shy and startled himself because he didn't expect his phone to make such a loud noise.
Right.
The power suddenly turned back on and the cabin wiggled back and forth
And
again.
they do make those shutter noises.
This made him
that
drop
are
his phone on the floor, and that's when I
You
saw
saw
it.
the picture of him?
On the screen was a picture of me, zoomed in on my face.
What the heck,
That's when I
dude?
realized he was actually taking pictures of me.
You're right.
He quickly bent down to retrieve his phone that was in my skis and excused himself. I don't think he knew I saw his phone screen,
Thank goodness.
but my heart was now beating 100
Right.
beats per second.
At least you're
The rest of
on
the cabin
guard,
ride
though.
was quiet, and nothing else happened.
Good.
We both got off, and I let him go first in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I thought. This guy was actually a pedo. I never saw his face, so I
Man.
guess this whole time he wanted to make himself discreet.
Right.
I never told my parents about it, because
What?
I think it would make them worry for me.
Well.
But it was definitely one of the creepiest moments of my life.
Oh boy. I would have said something to mom and dad, bro. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, story 2 didn't even come close to the terror that story 1 came with, man. These were really, really good animations, though. Big shout out to Spook. Thanks so much for letting me react to these, man. Make sure to subscribe to him, you guys, as well as a couple other reaction videos I think you'll love. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.